Hey everyone, I'm Benj from OAR. This is What Could Be Bad. I am doing this episode a little different. I am really excited about it because to me it's an acceptance of some things that didn't go right. And it's a embracing of imperfections. And you'll see and hear how it's a little different when the episode comes out in a minute. But I just want to give you a little bit of a thank you for checking out any of these episodes this season. I also want to say thank you to my wife, my kid, my band, my management, friends, family, the listeners, the guests, the people who connected me to the guests. Like so many people were involved in bringing this season to life. And I'm so grateful for the experience of it. It connected me with the world in a way that I, just really appreciate. It was different and special to me. And this episode you're going to see, I'll kind of give you the backstory of how I got there. Is the season of What Could Be Bad was getting rolling, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, Dave Dressman, who's the event director at the GoPro Mountain Games. And Dave was like, "Hey, we have this stage. It's called the CoLab, and basically we bring people together to be creative, whether it's music or music and art or juggling and art, dogs or jumping around. Like there's so many cool things that are going on. I know that was probably a lot for you to imagine, but I loved the whole thing of it. And well, I was invited by Dave, but the stage is run by Abby Wren and Wade Holland. They're a husband and wife dynamic duo, and they run a company called Wrenegade Media. And they put together such a amazing thing that I was just really honored to be a part of it. To bring music and my wellness focus, my mental health focus to the stage with a guy I'm really honored to know. His name's Pat Milbury. He's like a new soul brother, and I'm just really touched that I was a part of this because it gave me a lot of unique insight into where this can go, the mental health focus, the positivity of this podcast and show or whatever it is, at where it could possibly take me. So it gave me a lot of inspiration and excitement, and I'm really thankful for it, if you can't tell. But so during that weekend, I had asked Abby if you can carve out a little time, let's film a podcast. And she was so busy that I didn't think it was going to work out, but she made time for it. It was early one morning, and I asked Dave, is there somewhere we could do this? And he graciously connected me with a beautiful location on top of a building in the Alpine Gardens, right adjacent to the Ford Amphitheater, where I got to see some shows, and I'll get to perform a show later this summer with OAR. And I saw Dispatch Save Your Ride. It was so good. So anyway, we filmed this episode. It was an amazing conversation. I felt so great about it. And then I brought the camera stuff back to my room, all the files, and I start looking at things. And the first thing I would always look for is like, how many gigabytes do I need to download? And one of the cameras was noticeably small. And actually during the interview, it overheated and I knew something was up. But so basically, like, I lost that camera for the entire interview. I was kind of trying to make that work or whatever. But then when I got to the microphones, one of the microphones had interference, and it was just like, there's only one microphone. And thankfully it was on Abby because she said so many eloquent, wonderful things. And at that point I was like, man, do I just scrap this whole thing? And I kind of wrote it off like, yeah, I guess without one of the three cameras and without a microphone, maybe it just should go away and I should do it again later. And I sat with that, and I let Abby know after the festival, like, that's what was going to happen. And I tried to schedule another pod, and I had it lined up. But then I was like, this whole thing is about embracing imperfections and problems and, like, working through them. So that's what I'm going to do with you guys. And I hope, it's a sign of my own growth, but just a reminder to everybody that, like, that shit's going to happen. There's a reason I click the yes, this has explicit content on it, so I could say shit. So anyway, yeah, this episode, it's not going to be as like visually like, whatever, and it'll be nice and pretty, but it's like there's no camera on me for the most part, and there's no microphone on me. So like the mic stuff that I'm going to say is we're going to work on it. We're not done with that yet, but it's probably not going to sound as good as the other ones. But the connection with Abby is so heartfelt that I don't want to care about that other stuff as much as I want to share the way we connected. So, the experience at the CoLab stage of just kind of like going with it, I think also inspired me to do this. So I'm really like taking in what I'm experiencing and learning from it and moving forward the best I can. And with that, this being the last episode of the season, I want to share that I'm very motivated and excited to do another one. There's a lot of hurdles to jump over with that, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out. And so, this is a keep watching and pay attention in the off season. I have some stuff I'll be doing when I'm traveling around, the What Could Be Bad record pulls. I want to do some Instagram lives with viewers and have some conversations with people while I'm traveling, and really just, continue to embrace this community that's begun to form. Here is my conversation with Abby Wren.
Hey everyone, I'm Benj. This is What Could Be Bad. I am very pleased to be in Vail, Colorado at the GoPro Mountain Games. Honored to be a part of the CoLab stage. It is a wonderful space for creators to join together and make beautiful things. Mm-hmm. And I'm here because of that, but that is only that because of Abby Wren.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. I'm so happy that you took some time out of your extremely busy schedule to connect with me. I feel extremely honored and privileged, truly, to be a part of what you've brought to life.
You're so sweet. I feel honored to be here. So thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on this podcast because everything you're chatting about and bringing to life through this podcast means a lot to me as well. So it's my pleasure to be here.
That's beautiful to hear. Because of my own issues, it's become very important to me to address mental health and wellness.
Yeah.
And I think that part of that needs to happen in a way that's very conversational, because it's becoming more mainstream to talk about these issues, but it's not exactly like destigmatized yet. And my goal is to do that as well as elevate everyone's experience and share.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's a great thing that we're seeing more people open up about their experiences with mental health, but I think we still have a lot of work to do. So what you're doing, and I think what a part of my mission is really to just get that conversation going and create a safe space for people to have that conversation. Because once you do that, the whole world opens up and people feel more connected. So it's really important what you're doing, and I commend you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel like, we're connecting in this time in our lives because like our missions are the same. Is to bring positivity and brightness to the world. There's a lot of dark stuff out there. It's like a lot of divisiveness, and I think we're both creating community and a space for people to be themselves, and that's really vital, and people need to be encouraged to be their authentic selves, given so many other I guess impressions of how life should be.
100%. Yeah. My husband, Wade, and I talk about this all the time, but it's the beauty of social media is that community, right? I think when he and I both got started creating content back before it was a job, it was years and years ago. And we loved making videos, and we loved, doing our crafts and sharing it online. And so we've been making content online for such a long time, but it's been a really interesting process. It's kind of like seeing how it's evolved and how communities grow over time. And I really do think that it's given me some hope in the internet, to be honest, because like you said, the world is wild and can be dark in a lot of ways, especially on the internet sometimes. But I think you and I have we can relate in the sense that we've both kind of created a nice slice of the internet. You created your own corner where there is positivity, there's empowerment, there's uplifting conversations happening. And I think that's so important. It's given me some faith in humanity.
I love
for sure.
It. Yeah, me too. And I'm seeing more of that. And in fact, someone I looked up to, that probably a lot of people look up to is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yeah.
And his pump club,
Yeah.
they say, you know, at the beginning of every email, welcome to the positive corner of the internet.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he mentioned the podcast recently, and I was very touched because I have so much respect for him and his mission and missions. He's really involved in a lot of things. But my goal now is for it to not just be a positive corner. I want a whole positive side.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I wanted that to grow, and I think, you know, we're building it together.
Totally.
And I'm really excited to. And you know, the CoLab stage is it's really inspiring that like people are out there trying to make a space where, you know, there's a creative energy that is like active listening. Like since I've gotten here, everyone is really into what everybody else wants to do.
Yeah.
And it's not always like that. A lot of times in creativity, it's like what one person might want to do.
Yeah.
And in that capacity, like what you brought together is just like a whole bunch of very different people to make unique pieces of art.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you saying that because that's exactly what we're trying to cultivate with the CoLab stage. You know, the Mountain Games is such an incredible event. It's been going for over 2 decades now, and we were honored to be a part of it when we started coming years ago. But what we saw as independent creators is a lack of a specific space to bring together the creative people. We were always in like our corner doing our own thing. And we were like, there's amazing talent here. Everyone is coming to the games with a different craft and a different, you know, purpose, something really rad that they're bringing to the table. How about we create a space where everyone can come together and collaborate and then reach the world in those creative ways? Like it's really, really powerful. So my husband, Wade, and I, we run a production and creative agency in Los Angeles called Wrenegade Media.
Yeah.
So we brought that to the Mountain Games last year was the first year, and it went really well. It was just received by all the creators, and you know it goes out to hundreds of thousands of people collectively. So it's a really, really awesome thing. I appreciate you saying that you felt that because that's the whole goal.
Oh, totally. It needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
You know, I feel lucky to be included. And I think anybody who gets to experience things at that stage, and I'm one of them. When I showed up yesterday, you brought together music and art. You and Pat Milbury were painting while Xavier Rudd and Bobby Alou were playing a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And that was my welcome to Vail for the weekend. Was I walked in and that's what I got to see.
Yeah.
So the vibes immediately were fire, and I'm really honored, just like so excited about everything to come. You know, all the activations that are there are all very different. You know, music, art, you have juggling, you have athletes, you know, you have a game show. There's just so much that's going to happen there. There's musical collaborations. Like today I'm going to play with Marty Schwartz and Emmylise and also Gus Glasser.
Yeah.
And I've never made music with any of them. And it's going to be awesome. Like, I know it's going to be really fun. So.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the CoLab, right? Like anything can happen. We really just wanted to create a space for a lot of those magical moments to organically come about. And a lot of those things are happening because you have that creative, collaborative spirit. And you're like, hey, Marty, I have an idea. Let's do something. Hey, Emmylise, let's hop on stage and make something rad. So, you know, we have to give props back to all the creators that we pulled on and that are involved, because it's up to you guys to kind of like, you know, to really lean into those moments. We'll create the space, but you guys bring it to life. So
we all leaned into the mannequin challenge yesterday to start off after that first you know moment. It was really that was fun, especially like those. I got to hold one of the guitars you guys painted, and I mean it just felt really fun, and already like everyone was in it together. I know there's more will come.
Yes.
I want to ask you about Wrenegade Media. I know this is like an extension of the work you've done already, and it's really amazing to see this collaboration and the cohesiveness of the people that you're already bringing together. And I wonder, you know, you and Wade as partners, you know, I have a partner in life, but we don't work together. And how is it working with someone you dearly love? Oh
man, it is a wild adventure. Let me say that. It is so deeply layered in so many different things. I don't think that I could do what I do and Wade could do what he does independently. Like he and I have this really unique balance that we've built over the last almost 8 years together, where we just vibe with each other in that way, and we creatively push each other really hard, probably more than we even show online, which we should show a lot more of that behind the scenes. But he's constantly pushing me out of my comfort zone. My personality is a little bit more subdued and laid back. I'm a very chill, like even keeled person. And if you've seen or met my husband, Wade Holland, you will know he vibrates up here. Yeah. He is on another level. He just has so much energy and stoke for life, which gives me life. It lifts me up to another level. And
he says like he's the captain of the Stoke
The captain
Army.
of Stoke,
I wrote him, I want to be the sergeant.
Yes, you can be the sergeant.
Okay, very good. I'm down.
Yeah, you're also very stoked. Wade has a unique energy that I've never seen in any other person. And I think what's like so magical about him is just his outlook on life. Every day he wakes up that way. It's not an act. It's not a show. It's not something for the camera. He just is that way. I don't know what's in his DNA, but it's something special. And I'm completely obsessed with him, and I respect him so much because he puts so much into our building our life together, and especially our work. So we're really, really fortunate that dynamic works well.
Yes.
If I'm doing...
So is everyone who gets to see what you guys create together.
Oh, yeah. We're super grateful that it works that way, man. Yeah. And it's been years, obviously, like finding a balance of what works and how to make work and life and love all work together in that dynamic. But I think we just hit the jackpot because he pushes me in ways I don't even know I need to be pushed. Yeah. And then I kind of am able to get there. I'm like, oh, you saw it before I even saw it, and vice versa,
That sounds very healthy.
Yeah.
Like that you guys have such a vibe together and can build off each other's energy and grow together, as well as grow your media company and how you're able to impact people to be able to support one another through that journey and have such a deep understanding of how each other resonates and creates and vibes and relates to people. It's really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you saying that. It's like I said, it's taken years to kind of find that balance and figure out the flow, right? Because it changes all the time. I'm sitting here doing a podcast. I'm headed back in, the next hour to paint a bunch of faces. Wow. And then we're recording something. He's prepping to lead the CoLab show. He's hosting it. Right. And then he's doing a game show. And then we're running our production team at the same time. So there's a lot of moving parts that we're balancing all the time. Yeah. And I think the main thing between us that allows that dynamic to flow is just communication. Like we over communicate. A lot of times he'll just go off and he'll just be talking so much about something. I'm like, okay, I got it. Let's stop, because we talk things out so thoroughly that there leaves no room for miscommunication, which is good.
I feel like that's a wonderful trait to have as partners. As much for your personal relationship as your professional.
Definitely.
Being able to really hear one another. Yeah. And then absorb and then go more. That's not something everybody has in a relationship. My partner, I'm really lucky. She, puts up with me when she has to listen to me, and I do my best to tone it down sometimes. And it's like a very active conversation in that as you go through years together. Yeah. And I really admire that you guys have such a strong partnership. That's really wonderful. That. I want to back up because that's where we are now, and I love it. And I know more of this is going to come, and that you have goals to continue making beautiful things together. And I'm grateful, and I hope I can be a part of more of them.
Absolutely.
Because I'm so happy to be a part of just this one moment, and it's really special. Really appreciate it.
We're lucky to have you, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome. I want to go back to when I should clarify, I guess that we have something in common. Yeah. You have alopecia. Yeah. And it's alopecia totalis. Yeah. Which is entirely, right? Do you want to tell people more who might not know? Yeah. Yeah. Alopecia is a really interesting autoimmune disease, and it's kind of the easiest way to describe it is it's that the loss of hair. It could be on the head or the total body or just small patches of any part of the body. But it's caused by your white blood cells wrongfully thinking that they need to protect you. So they're a little confused, and they attack your hair follicles, thinking that something is going wrong in the head area, and we need to attack this cell. And so it causes hair loss, and they don't really know what causes it. I've been to so many specialists over the years, and I have just given up at this point. I have fully embraced my alopecia. And as you asked,
It was alopecia totalis. When I first lost my hair, it was the total loss of hair. Okay. So it all came out all at once. And over the years, that has grown back and fallen out.
Yeah.
Right now, it's kind of in a stage of alopecia areata, which is where I have patches all over my head where I experience a lot of hair loss. Yeah. So I keep it shaved for my own mental health and just to fully embrace it because it's just something that I live with now.
I understand. And I mean, to that point, what we have in common, I mean, I have another autoimmune disease, but for about 3, maybe 4 years, I had alopecia areata barbae, which is of the beard. I haven't ever shared about this, is that it was patches, as you said, and I shaved twice a day, and I was, I felt very ashamed, and I didn't want to share it with anyone, and I was like it made me like very obsessive about my appearance, and some of that I think relates to the culture of America, and that like how we're attached to, the visual appearance of people, but really, as we know, it's what's inside that truly counts. Yeah, and that's why treating others as you wish to be treated is a golden rule for us all, right?
Definitely, yeah. Hair is such an interesting thing. Hair is something that, as a society, as a humankind, we have kind of determined as a marker of identity and certainly of beauty. Yeah. And it's so interesting when you lose your hair without your consent, right? When you lose your hair and you have no control over the circumstance, you are forced to then look into the mirror every morning and say, who am I? Who am I without that look? Like when your visual appearance is changed like that without your control, it's a really interesting moment psychologically. Okay. For me, that happened when I was 15 years old. So I was just entering high school when I lost my hair. It was a challenging time to be a kid in general, right? 15, 16 is like, you're just figuring out who you are.
I was a mess at 15.
Same, me too.
Anyway, without anything else.
Yes. Yeah. So that happened to me. And I grew up in a really small town on a Native American reservation in rural Montana. So middle of nowhere. Yeah. And there was nobody who looked like me. So I was walking around with no hair suddenly, and everyone thought I was sick. Everyone thought that I, was going through chemotherapy or something similar. And I was just trying to figure out how to handle that. Like, what do you do? How do you express your femininity and be proud of being a woman when the hair that you've been braiding into braids and putting into ponytails while I was playing soccer, it was just such a part of me. Losing it was really traumatizing at the time. Yeah. And I'm very grateful that I had wonderful parents who supported me and were just cheering me on,
You're answering questions that I was going to ask you. I'm so grateful you're being so open.
Oh, I'm so open about alopecia because I think it's really important to talk about it. Yes. So many people experience it. Like you said, you had 3 or 4 years experiencing it, and it's really challenging. But the reason it's challenging, I think, is because it's not openly discussed and people aren't as often proudly being like, it's okay. It's okay to be different. Totally. My whole motto is different is dope. And that is to just spread awareness that it's rad to be different. We were not all meant to be the same. Right. If we all look the same, how boring of a world would that be?
Totally. And I mean, the people I feel like that we most remember in the world are not these like carbon copies of everybody else. It's the people who are truly their authentic selves and have unique minds and do the things they feel are what they should be doing. Yeah. And I commend you for getting there. And I want to talk about that moment. And that was a big question for me. Yeah. Is that moment that you realized that your hair was not coming back rather than when it started, when you took in that moment, what went through your mind, and what were the emotions?
Yeah. I think it's been an interesting journey for me because I've had multiple moments with alopecia of loss and regrowth, right? So, and that's for me, what's been the hardest part about it is losing it and then the hair growing back. So you get a sense of hope like, oh, that was just in the past, my hair's growing back and it's all about the regrowth. And there was this excitement that oh, this is going to be in the past. My hair's going to come back. I have beautiful red hair. I'm a natural redhead. So that was really hard for me. And I think I accepted it, like fully accepted it the second time when I was older. Okay. When I was younger, if I had all the money in the world, I would have done anything to get my hair back because I was young and I was still finding my own identity. The second time was in 2018. So I had met Wade by then and we were together, we were deeply in love. And of course he met me with long blonde hair. So my hair had regrown over the years, all through college, and it had grown back. I had waist-length blonde hair, and that's how he met me.
Yeah.
And so I was terrified when it came back the second time, and I noticed like handfuls of hair falling out in the shower. I really felt it. I was like, oh, here we go. This is happening again.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Sudden when that happens, it's like all in like a day, or is it like over the course of a few?
For me, it was over the course of probably 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
And it was handfuls. So, you know, it really was, I was kind of preparing myself like, okay, this is coming.
Yeah.
I was using clip-in hair extensions to hide the bald patches, and I was wearing hats every single day. So nobody could see. I had a big bald patch on the top of my head, and I was petrified. If anyone would have removed my hat or if it had blown off in the wind, it was my biggest fear that someone was going to see my bald spots. Nobody cares, by the way, if anyone sees your bald spots, but we care ourselves, right? We internalize
we have that self-image that we want to see of ourselves.
Totally.
That like we've created by, I feel like, the impressions and understandings we get from the culture around us.
Absolutely.
But it's unnecessary to attach to those things.
Yeah.
And that's like a whole yogic lesson for all of us. Is to just let go of those attachments.
Yes.
Whether it's like a physical thing you like to have or a physical trait.
100%. Yeah. So the second time I was 25, 26, I think. So I was a little bit older. I knew myself better. And I was very fortunate to have Wade in my life.
Yeah.
Because he was the one, I eventually ran out of space to clip in my hair extensions. There was nothing to clip it to.
Yeah.
And so we came to this conclusion, like, I don't really have any other choice. I can get a wig or we can shave it off, and I'm going to embrace it. And that's what I did the first time. I decided that's what I'm going to do again. So that was a different level of acceptance because I had a partner in my corner cheering me on, being like, you don't need that hair.
Yeah.
Let's shave it off and just take back this power. And so Wade and I sat down in our little office and we played Britney Spears and we filmed the video. We decided to share it with the world, which was...
I got to go back and see that.
Yeah, I'll share it with you for sure. It was a really different kind of moment because it was a celebration of alopecia, in my opinion. Totally. That's how it felt for me. Yeah. Rather than crying and mourning my hair loss, it was like, no, I'm taking back this power. I can be bald. I'm still the same person. Yes. I still have all the same traits and characteristics about myself that I respect about myself. None of that goes anywhere.
Yeah.
This is just hair.
Yeah, totally. And I want to liken that to my own experience in a very different way.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm going to water it up before I go there.
I'll join you.
Yeah, right. It's so dry out here.
Yeah, it really is.
Dry and beautiful.
Yeah.
So when I got hit during the pandemic with what turned out, I think, to be long COVID as well as another autoimmune disease called hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's disease. Mm-hmm. I denied that I was going through this for so long, and then it got diagnosed, and I still tried to push. Mm-hmm. I still tried to get through it. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I really submitted to the fact that I had something that was a part of me physiologically that I was able to truly start healing.
Yeah.
And I think, like, acceptance of things we don't want is a big part of where our mental health resides. And whether you're, let's call it equanimity, you're in the good side or the bad side, and if you're not able to accept, you're dropping down.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can realize it, accept it, submit to whatever that reality is, that, whether you want it or not, I feel like that's when we really are a healthier version of ourselves.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I can relate to where you were at with that. And I don't think I ever really did that when I had alopecia in my beard. I just kept hiding it and I pushed it down. I should probably talk to my therapist about that because it was like years of, and actually now, that's one of the reasons why I'm really my wife loves my beard, which is a big reason, but I feel happy to have that. And I'm not trying to throw that at you in a negative way, but it's one of the things that I'm sure when your hair grew back, you were celebrating it as well.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. I dyed my hair all different colors. I was very expressive through my hair when I had it.
Yeah.
Because, I think it's important to acknowledge your experience and I don't want you to feel like you need to diminish it at all because especially for men, facial hair is a big thing. Yeah. You guys experience with facial hair what a lot of women experience with the hair on our head, right? So yeah, that I'm sure that was really, really challenging. And especially being a public person, a front facing person where, that's a lot to go through, and very easy for us to internalize that and just worry and stress about what everyone else is going to think. I know that feeling so well.
Thank you for acknowledging, hearing, and supporting me in my stuff, because it's one of those things that is deep in me, but like I feel lucky to be where I am, and I also like some of that is as much my physical health in the past few years and like embracing everything about me that has gone through these stages. And I think that's a hard thing. Like, it's taken me so many years to get to a good place, and a lot of that was because of the support of family and friends and starting to be open and sharing. Like, the whole podcast grew out of putting some things on social media where I was just like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I'm going through. Yeah. And then the outpouring of support and love was really amazing. And I was like, I think I want more of that. And then I started cooking on what this is. So this grew out of that. Yeah. But I'm wondering about, like, your different times when alopecia showed up. Was there a difference in the support you had from your friends and family versus like peers and people? Like, did that affect you in different ways?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing I can speak to is having a partner in my life at that time, because when I was younger, I didn't have someone so intimately involved. You have your parents who, of course, they just want to take it away. They want to take the pain away, right? You want to fix it. Yeah. That's their only goal. And so my mom was taking me to holistic doctors, naturopathic doctors, every dermatologist under the sun. Yeah. I had chunks of my scalp removed to try and test and see what this was, because it was before alopecia was public like this. Yeah. It wasn't talked about so openly.
A lot of that's thanks to the efforts you're doing in the community you've created around it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of people have become so much more open and vulnerable in sharing, because when you see someone else tell their story, you're more comfortable and empowered to also do that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's really important. I think it's so important. That's the reason I choose not to wear wigs. I would love a good wig. Yeah. I think that would be so fun. Different colors, like there's an art in wigs, right? But I choose not to, because I think it's important to be that person for someone else, because you never know who's watching. And I see that time and time again when I work with young girls who have alopecia and they're experiencing hair loss. They are seeing sometimes another bald woman like presenting bald proudly for the first time. Right. That's really important, because when I was losing my hair, I had nothing like that. There was nobody in the world that I knew of that had alopecia. And so it was back before social media, right? Yeah. So here I am in this small town, and I thought it was just me. I thought there's something wrong with me. And we do that to ourselves. We internalize that, and you hold on to it. So when you're asking about, how did the people around me impact that experience? I don't think I let anyone help me at that time. I think I internalized everything, because that's how
you process.
Yeah, and I think that's a human thing. I don't fault myself for that, and we shouldn't fault anyone for that response. But I think that's just a natural human response. It's like, oh, I got to deal with this.
Yeah, you're a strong person, and I think we also are like more about the society and our culture is that we're supposed to we're kind of like I guess like taught or like imprinted with the idea of sort of like we can handle our own stuff and we should. Yeah. And I'm curious about therapy and like how that played a role for you, if it did, because I think like for me, since I've gone into therapy and began to open up privately about my stuff and just like no barriers, it really made a difference for my well-being. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if you had experiences with that.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome that you're sharing that too. I think that's super, super important to be able to talk about therapy as this like healing modality, this addition to life, rather than something to be ashamed or quiet about. I think it's so rad when you're working on yourself and you're healing different layers. Like, everyone has had a complicated, challenging life. That's what life is, So I love that you're talking so openly about therapy, because I'm a huge advocate for that openness, and I full-heartedly agree. Yeah. And I think it should be talked about more openly. For me personally, I think I've always been a really just strong-willed person internally, even though my demeanor is a bit more subdued and I'm chill, I'm kind of quiet. Internally for myself, I've always known who I am as a person. And I have to credit my parents for just raising me in the middle of Montana and taking me backpacking, you know, putting me into girls' camps where I had to lead a canoe race and then do a 14-mile backpacking trip when I was 10 or something like that. So I've always been connected to the outdoors and I've been empowered by the outdoors. And so I think nature has been a big part of my therapy. And it's, you know, I sat down and I had sessions with talk therapists, with conventional, you know, psychotherapists. And I always felt that I was kind of talking in circles. I think for me personally, the most therapy I've ever received is through artistry.
Cool.
I just feel like for me personally, and I've always been an artist in different ways. But I think that it's always been through art that I've found the most comfort.
We were interrupted by a helicopter, and I'm really interested if we can go back. We took a break, everybody, because there was a helicopter.
Yeah,
it's fine. This is a moving target with the podcast.
Yeah.
So you were talking about how your therapy is not necessarily with a psychotherapist. You felt like that was going in circles, but your therapy is.
Yeah. For me, therapy has always been creativity and art. It's just always been, I think, more relaxing, more free-flowing, and I'm able to get my thoughts and feelings out onto either a canvas, and over the years, my canvas has evolved into my head because I have all this space.
I love that.
So, and I spend a lot of time looking in the mirror, and that has just been a really interesting experience over the past, honestly, decade of hair loss and then hair regrowth. So it's just always been art and creativity that has been my therapy over the years. And it's different for everyone, right? I've had wonderful experiences with therapists also that I'm like, man, you're forcing me to look at a different side of myself. And this is great. I'm going deep.
Totally.
I really enjoy that. And I find a lot of value in it also, but I'm an artist. And so for me, like getting that work out into the world and then being able to share it with other people has given me a lot of purpose in life. It's been like, okay, I've come to a point over the last 18 years of having alopecia where I can now create a space for other people, and I am confident in my own self. It's my responsibility to be there for someone else.
I love that. I have a bunch of thoughts on that. One is that actively, like, that space is created now. And I think when you are creating, it is therapeutic. There's like, since I've been doing the podcast, doing my own thing has really been meaningful and big in my own personal mental health, because it's like you're focusing on building something and moving forward and progressing. And for me, that all started with like, you know, like, all right, I can walk. Like, if I can take steps forward and I get my physical self moving, maybe that'll help my mental health, and that built. That was a whole thing for me.
Cool.
But there's two other things I got to share about what you're saying. One is that we should all always, I think, listen to ourselves and listen to what heals us. And whatever that therapy is really important for each person to take note of and embrace and go with, because you're right. It's like sometimes, like I know at times when I've done my therapy, like it's not as productive, if you want to use that word, of a session.
Sure.
But other times I have these moments of like, oh, you know, so that to me is just like, you know, me listening to me. And the other side of this, just to relate to what you're saying personally, is music for me has always been healing for me, but I see it in the audience when we perform as a band. And whenever I talk to people, that the music is healing. And I know, like, when people see your art, it's so bright and full of life and vibrant. Like, you can't help but be positively affected, in my opinion, by your art. And also that you are a living embodiment of your art by painting yourself is so cool. And
thank
so
you.
Inspiring. You know,
I appreciate that.
I'm really, like, since I've learned about you, like when Dave Dressman told me about this and invited me, I learned about you and Wade, and I was just like, these people are so awesome. I can't do anything but want to like jump all the way in. And I'm really just like touched that we not only are able to have the connection through the CoLab here in Vail in this moment, in these days, but connecting here on this bench and talking about all these things. Because it's really, I think, like what we're saying for those that will hear this, it will hopefully be relatable to their own lives in more than one way.
100%.
That's what I'm trying to do, is create impact.
Yeah. Well, and I think the older I've gotten, as the years have gone on, the more I understand that purpose, and it changes and evolves over time. If you're an artist, if you have your craft, whether it's music or, face painting, whatever it looks like, I think it's a really, really cool thing to have that evolve over the years into something that can give back to people. Because at the end of the day, look, we're all going to be gone in 100 years?
If we're lucky.
Yeah. So what are you going to do with that time? What are you going to do with the time that is so valuable and so fleeting? How can you impact other people? And if you can really find that purpose within your craft, to me, my life is fulfilled. I feel so honored to have any moment with little girls that are able to paint, or that also have alopecia and want to paint their head or let me paint their face. That is my greatest honor. On this earth, I'm getting emotional talking about it, because I really genuinely care so much about those moments, because they're more impactful than I think I even realize at times. It's not until afterwards, when a mom reaches out to me or a friend at school says, "Hey, that was really impactful for, my daughter or my sister," and they're walking a little more confidently now.
Totally. I think that's wonderful and relatable too, when we connect with people through our music. So I totally hear you that, for me, music is the same, and I really am fortunate whenever those interactions happen. And I also love too being a spectator. And last night, here at the Mountain Games, Xavier Rudd performed at the Ford Amphitheater. Amazing venue. The staff is incredible. The environment actually reminded me of the first place I saw a concert in Meriwether Post Pavilion. There's a certain angle down the stage that I don't see at every amphitheater. And I've been to a few. And this was so reminiscent of the first show. I just had all these vibes, and Xavier was wonderful, but it reminded me about just the music. I was thinking about this. It's the saying, if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there to hear it, doesn't make a sound.
Right.
And I think music is kind of like that. There's so much out there that we might not hear. I posted some stuff about Xavier, and I had friends that were like, I've never even heard his music, and it's beautiful. And I was like, well, great. Now you have a whole catalog of this guy who's an incredible human being that you can enjoy. And it gave me that spirit, again, these games are just incredible. The things they're bringing together. What did they say?
Totally.
Music, or mountains, athletes, and art.
Yep, you nailed it. Okay. All that in one event.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
Yeah.
There's so much going on.
It's very true.
Yeah, there's so many activations.
Yeah.
So okay, here we go. What could be bad? Record poll.
Okay.
This is new, and I'm actually, people will see this after I launch it here at the games. It'll be the first time I publicly try to involve people in this.
Awesome. So I'm honored.
So what I'm gonna do is ask people if there's music that's been truly inspiring in their lives and helpful and good for their mental health. And I'm curious if anything comes to mind, a song, an album, an artist. Because what I want to do is create a playlist that people can go to and listen to, and I'm actually going to provide the Mountain Games with that playlist of all the songs that people from here mention. I'll go walk around and talk to people, and all that kind of stuff. So
that's so great. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love it if you contribute to that playlist.
Oh man,
no pressure. It's on the spot, I know. So
no, I love it.
Okay.
Music is a huge part of my life and a huge part of my creative journey too.
Oh, cool.
It very much so impacts my creative flow and everything. And also, when I was growing up, my dad, and still is, but he was always a blues musician. So I grew up listening to Aretha Franklin, B.B. King, Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Love it.
That vibe in the household at all times. Yeah. And if I had to say one song and off the top of my head that just is really, really special to me, it is Jessica from the Allman Brothers.
Oh.
That is a really, really special one.
Okay.
The Allman Brothers, my dad played that song, I think, when I was born, and he actually named me Jessica for a week and then changed my name to Abby after the fact, because he was like, no, you're more of an Abby. But that song, Jessica, is just such a great jam. It's such a really great song. So that one is really, really special to me. now in like present day, what I love to listen to and get into, I'm really inspired by like electronic, like chill electronic vibes, and also house music. I love to dance. Yes. Wade and I travel the world, and we go to venues anywhere we can. So, cool. So we really love like electronic house music too.
Yeah,
so,
awesome.
Yeah,
is there like a particular artist or song of that you love? Or is it just generally the environment, the people, the welcoming?
Honestly, so many of our favorite sessions, like jam sessions that we've had and dance sessions, have been different artists like sampling different things and creating something completely original on the fly, which is what I love about electronic house music. Yeah. It's such a blend of different vibes. I also love tropical house. So I also really love Polo and Pan, who are a really rad duo that we kind of followed around in California for a while.
I love it.
Polo and Pan are some of my favorite.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. That's beautiful. Jessica's on the playlist.
Yeah, cool.
And I'm gonna look up those artists so I can enjoy their music more.
Totally.
Polo and Pan. Yeah. And if you think of any later, I'm gonna be here with you all.
I mean, I have more. I'll keep going.
Yeah, we'll get to more. In fact, I'm gonna do the record pull at the CoLab stage. Is where I'm gonna announce it and do it on socials too. I'll probably do an Instagram live while I'm doing it or something like that.
I love that.
To share about how awesome the stage is in the moment.
And that's going to be such a cool way to get a wider perspective of music that's enjoyed from everyone at the game. That's so cool.
Totally.
I love that.
I was thinking. I've been trying to figure out how to involve music into what could be bad.
Yeah.
And there's a wonderful book by a woman, Susan, oh gosh, if I forget this. Susan Rogers. It might be Suzanne Rogers.
Okay.
I'm so sorry I'm messing that up, but it's called This Is What It Sounds Like. And she was Prince's engineer and producer and recorded a whole bunch of people. And then when she was 44, or my age, it also was inspiring after I read that while I was already starting the podcast, she began her studies to become a neuroscientist.
Wow.
So her perspective in the book is a mix of like the rational of the neuroscience as well as what it takes to work with artists and how you make music as a recording.
Yeah.
And it's a really wonderful book. And throughout the book, she has record pulls that you listen to while you read it to get you to understand her points.
Wow.
So it's a very experiential, participatory reading experience. And I encourage it to everyone out there. And I really hope she hears it and that I can have her on the podcast next season because I really want to talk to her.
You've got to get her on. What a cool creative process too.
It's really cool.
To connect this, like the music and the impact of that music to the reading. That's really rad.
I think it's beautiful. Very cool. I'm trying to get an extension of that and incorporate it into this thing.
Love it. I love that addition for sure. The record pull is going to be really cool. And I always find it fascinating to hear what kind of music people are into. And a lot of times it's like not maybe what you'd expect, or people have a taste that, just by looking at them, you would never know they're into death metal or just acoustic guitar. Like you never know.
Happen where someone is like, "Oh yeah, Pantera."
Yeah.
Like, you?
Wow.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I love the mosh pits.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. People will surprise you. Like,
totally.
That's the thing. If you take the time to get to know someone, and will listen, like you learn. And you could appreciate somebody for things that you never would have expected.
Yeah.
It's like, never judge a book by its cover. And really just, I think all of this is like listening and learning.
100%.
That is the goal.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for agreeing with me more and everything today and this weekend. I'm so excited for all that's to come. I'm so grateful that we could connect here.
Me too.
On what could be bad.
Me too.
I think you've answered my questions and more. In fact, you anticipated a lot of them and answered things before I even asked them. So I love the flow that we got to have.
Same. Me too. I'm so grateful to just be a part of this. I think this entire message is so important to get out into the world and shift that perspective. Like a lot of things could be bad, but let's flip that on its head and let's talk about it. Let's open up a conversation and give people a space to step into and be bold about what they're experiencing. Because that just creates a really impactful community. So you're on to something really special and I'm just honored to be a part of it.
Thank you. Just getting started here. And I love that you're a part of it. Thank you.
I love it.
All right.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you actually next season. Thank you for any of the time you've spent listening, watching, learning. I'm so grateful to be here doing this, and I look forward to putting together more podcasts with amazing people.
Yeah.
And take care, be good to yourselves, and be good to others.
guys, thank you for embracing that video the way I embraced that video, and watching it, listening to it if you didn't watch it. It's a moment in time for me where I had such a great experience with Abby, but the product was a little different than I wanted to accomplish for this season. But again, like, I tried to do that on my own and something went wrong. A couple somethings went wrong, but still we caught lightning in a bottle. It was a wonderful conversation that means a lot to me. And I hope it means a lot to you. And, it's been 10 episodes of What Could Be Bad. I feel like I've really, put something together that shows, what we can learn from each other if we just listen a little bit. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this thing, and we'll come back for another season when it comes around. I've ended a lot of these with what I'm going to end this one with, as I enjoy doing a podcast in my socks on my couch. And be good to yourselves and be good to others.